And today's demonstration will cover submitting contributions through STARS or through the employer self-service area. So as we move forward to the next slide, for a STARS project update, testing contribution files. So we have tested contribution files for 93% of our employers, and we thank you for remitting those test files. We will be contacting those employers in the remaining 7% or so to see if the employers have any questions regarding the contribution files and if they do want to go ahead and remit a test file, because we want to ensure everyone's success when uploading those contribution files as we launch into STARS next year. Website, as I mentioned previously, please check the website. We have updated the FAQs. We've enhanced that FAQs section and gathered some of the questions you've had from prior meetings and added them. So please take a look, as there are also some questions in the FAQs and information that address process or policy changes, such as in STARS, the payment method will be ACH, and timing on remitting payments for contributions. STARS will be tracking and noting the date the payment is due, which you'll note in our demo today. I can show you where that's at when we get there. Employer self-service and local board self-service administrators. We will go through, Harold and I will go through the exercise of reaching out beginning in January of 2026 to the employers to confirm who the administrator or administrators will be at launch. So as the demonstration showed last month, which you can go back and review that demonstration. It's on the website for that ESS and LBSS view of logging in and assigning roles to staff. But we'll be reaching out to the employers to confirm the administrators. So please, keep that in mind and keep that thought in your mind and think through it and just consider who you want to be noted as the administrators, if it's going to be other than who we are looking at initially, which is finance directors and HR directors that we have on record already. So we'll just be confirming that with you. And the pilot program. So we have a cross section of employers that have been contacted regarding participation in the pilot program. So we are very excited to have invited them and know that they will be participating in that soft launch pilot program, which will be held in December and in person at our office. So it's due to time and resource constraints that we could only offer that opportunity. We could not offer that opportunity to all employers, but the employers participating in the program will ultimately benefit everybody in the future training that will be scheduled. In other words, this gives Harold and I a chance to practice. That's what it means. And for the another project update, roll out 2 functionality, which means we're going to be testing normal, early, and refund benefit processing in member self-service. So as that is part of the launch, so that gives as part of the member self-service, which if you note, we're going to be providing a demonstration of member self-services. I think it is in February of next year, so employers can see how that the view that the members have in their self-service area. Okay, any questions? If not, then we will move on to the demonstration for this month, which is submitting payroll files or contribution imports. So let's see, how Robert is going to give me the share option here. All righty, we'll get going on this part of the demonstration. Okay, so just to let you know, I've already gotten into the employer self-service area. And if you recall from last month's demonstration, this is the menu that will be seen by the administrator role as the administrator role. This will be the view. And so just to let you know, again, we're demonstrating this this is a high level walkthrough of the contribution uploads and import. We'll be moving quickly as we have limited time. So we're not going to go into details. We will try and answer questions about this subject at a high level. But remember, the training will go through and into much more detail regarding the process. So in the employer self-service area, we're going to go into imports here. And this is going to show the import history. So I am going to go ahead and add an import. Type is contributions. And it's nice because this is the wizard that you will see as you go to upload every pay period. When you get to this import area, I'm going to get a file, which it is here. And the description. And that is up to the individual employer as to, or individual person who is referencing what file they're uploading. This just happens to be the way that I like to do it. So, and again, this is just up to the employer to decide, or again, like I said, individual, it's a reference spot for you to just reference in any way that you need to regarding the file itself. I have combined EPSL contributions. The employer that I am using today does combine. So we'll go ahead and indicate that. There are some employers that do break out the EPSL. And in that case, you would answer no to this spot. And then we need the pay period start and pay period end. I always go by the pay period end and go backwards. So that's how I'm going to reference this today. I'm going to remember what the file is, because, my memory as I get older is not working as well. Okay. You need to see which year we were working with. Okay, and then I need to back into the pay period start date. There we go. Again, that's just how I do it. I've worked off of a calendar for years, trying to get those pay periods working correctly in my head. And so that's how I do it. The type of file is going to be regular or adjustment. So future state in stars, contributions will need to be remanded as a regular pay period ending without adjustments, and adjustments prior to the pay periods that are being remitted will be done separately, again, as adjustments when you go to upload. And we're just a review of the information before we confirm. We've got the file name, the description, its combined EPSL, pay period start, pay period end, and it's a regular file. So we will go ahead and confirm. And the import has been submitted. So you'll get this reference up here on there, and it will queue validation automatically for this file that we just imported. Now this will take a few minutes to complete, so I already have a file that's been validated. So we're going to go there to review further. So here is a review of what we of a file that's been uploaded. It's been validated, but it's been validated with warnings. And we can look at the information as view errors as a whole. And it'll provide the list of errors or warnings that are occurring. And I would expect it because we are working in the prior fiscal year. So it would be an expected warning at this point for the file that we just uploaded. And then there's a contribution calculation, so regarding it, but it has been updated to reflect the correct amount. So we'll take a look at that a little later. I'm going to also review these warnings. Oh, it tells me it's complete. That's a nice option. I didn't know that happened, so that's cool to know. The file that we uploaded that I just uploaded has been validated. So it gives you that information. So let's take a look here. We viewed the errors. We can edit the information also here before we move forward. As a warning. Again, with a warning, we can still process and move forward. It's the errors that will have a hard stop. But you can see there's a variety of information that will be shown here so that you can go ahead and update and edit here if you would like to. We're going to go ahead and process it because there's still one more way that we can go ahead and update if we need to and edit. So let's see here. Let's see. Make sure I cover everything. There's a lot of information on this demo. We're going to go ahead and process this pay period right now. And it does say queued processing request. And when we go back, we can see that it's queued for processing, which got completed. Okay, it's been processed successfully. And again, this is a smaller file. I mean, there's 7 rows. So this I would expect it to be a quick process to validate and to do this step and get that completed. For a larger employer, it's going to take a while, a few extra minutes for it to go through that validation at each step. So just be aware of that. It's just like I said, this is a very small employer, so this will flow pretty quickly for them. A larger employer will take some time, but it won't take all day. It won't take days. It will occur, within an expected amount of time for the amount of data that is being validated. And again, I am moving quickly through this as this is just a demonstration and a high-level walkthrough. So you can see the different steps quickly, but and it's because of our limited time. And again, we'll go into detail with the training when that occurs. So once we're done importing and we've completed that part, we're going to go into work reports. And in the work reports, we've got this one here. Let's see. Yeah. So in this work report, there's no release date yet. There's no date submitted yet. But there is a due date here, 4/4 of 25. This is the pay period start and pay period end and the pay date. And you can go ahead and as I scroll down, you can see the different totals that are noted here for each contribution type that the employer is remitting for. And so we do have that information, which is nice to have at a glance. And we're going to go into Work Report Editor. So in the Work Report Editor, again, we do have that option to update salary reported employer contribution and employer contribution. Calculated employee and employer contribution is the totals that will be invoiced. What's reported is from the employer. What's calculated is based upon what is in the system, and it will update as needed. The employers, if there's some initial amount that is different from what it's expecting, so that's where you would go ahead and just review that information and update it here or send it through. What was I going to do? I want to show. So on the work reports, we've got a transaction number that it's an initial status report. It's still open, and the pay period endings and the due date. So this is the due date for when the invoice needs to be paid. Otherwise, after that date, that's when interest will be calculated on the pay period that's being remitted. So you want to keep that in mind. So if there are no other edits to this and we're good to go, then we're going to go ahead and submit. And it will again confirm that you do want to submit this report. Now, once you hit the submit buttons and it asks for confirmation, then it goes into a batch process for releasing. And it automatically goes into that batch queue. It's not instantaneous, so while going through the batch process, it's similar to the import validation. It'll just take a few minutes for it to get through that step. if you notice here, the identifier, smaller employers, the identifier will be risk pool for the tier 3 employees. It will identify tier 1 and tier 2 without that risk pool in the identifier. So for larger employers who are not part of the tier 3 risk pool, you will not see a difference. But there are some employers who do have that tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 employees. So you'll see that listed here in the identifier as two separate items if you have that. Again, this employer just has tier 3. Once the, sorry, I'm checking my notes because as much as I have done this, I've done it in pieces. So please bear with me. So while we're here, I'm going to show that was the import process again quickly as a high level view of that step for those larger employers who are going to be importing a contribution file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Generate Report for those employers who might only need to and want to work with the work report and not have to upload a file. And it's just those two steps in the wizard for generating a work report. And again, it'll give you those confirmations, which is nice to see. The generation is processed. So it's got an initial work report here. Yeah, this is the one because there's no pay date. So we'll need to go in and edit this work report in order to be able to get that information entered. If you want to go ahead and just generate that work report for uploading and for submitting, basically. So here you can change and update the, I didn't change the pay period ending, so that's why in that wizard it provides you with that opportunity. I just wanted to show you again quickly that you can generate a work report if you want to do it and want to submit a file. And then you can update the salary, the reported contributions, and you can view what the calculated contributions are. And those calculated contributions, again, are based upon data that will be noted in stars, similar to what we have currently, where if you remit a dollar amount, it's not what it's expecting, it will calculate correctly. So that is a quick view of generating a work report. Probably, I think you have to edit here. The pay, oh, here's where you edit. Sorry, I'd forgotten this step again. This is as new to me some days as it is to you, so please bear with me. Let's see. Here. To edit again because if I'm not mistaken, this file does combine EPSL. There we go. So we can do that to make sure that it is updated correctly. And if, again, you can edit the work report if you need to, but if the totals work and everything is good to go, then we'll go ahead and hit submit. And it will confirm that for us. Whoops. Hard validation errors found in, well, evidently I didn't check that piece of it, but Oh, it's not the current. Should be fine. Oh, it's the same pay period. That's why. So the pay period ending would need to be changed because otherwise, because we already remitted that one. So anyway, again, I just wanted to show you very quickly that that's how you would generate a work report in the work report section of the menu options. After we have released the work report, this is the one we were just working on. We would go into payments and anyway, and we can view in transactions the work report that is still pending payment in order to be able to review it before and see what's going on with that part of it. So again, this is a very quick high level view of the contribution uploads and again, generating a work report, or in the same thing would go for generating an adjustment report. We are going to go into much more detail when we do the training. And so again, that's the couple of spots regarding importing contributions and generating a work report. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now, and Robert can bring up the screen. And again, the monthly meetings will be on the third Wednesday of each month. The next meeting will be Wednesday, November 19th at 1 p.m. And the demonstration will be about errors and warnings. And again, it's not a training, we're not training on the subject, but it's just a summary of the process that and how that's going to look for errors and warnings. And so that concludes the demonstration for today. So are there any questions that we can help with?
Yeah, Joanne, there's a few questions that came in through the chat.
Okay.
First question here is, does the import process handle hybrid EPSL, as some tiers are broken out and the newer tiers are not broken out? I think I'll go ahead and take that question. I think if I'm understanding the question here, it's really about like our tier 3 members who are DC members, where we know that as a tier 3 DC contributing member, the employer is still required to pay the legacy portion, or that EPSL portion of contribution directly to our office, right? So you can't necessarily roll up an EPSL legacy contribution rate with a DC contribution rate. So in that scenario, if you are an employer who's importing your file into the system, and if for all other members who are DB members, you're rolling up the contribution rate for both normal cost, the DBCN or the DBCT contribution with your legacy EPSL, you still have to report the tier 3 DC member in that file separately for the DC contribution, that DCCN, or that EPSL contribution. So while you may have indicated in your import wizard process that you are combining EPSL, the business logic of the system is going to know for a tier 3 DC member, there's still going to be an independent line for EPSL because that has to be reported separately. So yes, you will be able to report both those type of members as well as the normal DB members within one file process. So just understand that just like in our current system right now, you have to indicate whether you're rolling up the EPSL or not for all of your DB members. And if you're saying no, you're not rolling out, then the expectation is there's going to be an independent line for EPSL for all members, not just DC. But if you are saying, yes, I'm rolling up my EPSL, then what the system is going to expect is, okay, for all DB members, the EPSL will be rolled up, but for those who are DC members, that's going to be reported separately as a separate line item. Let's see. There's a general question on the presentation, Joann, regarding will this recording be available for download?
I know it's available on the website, on the STARS um, pension system webpage. Um,
So yes, after we for today's presentation as well as all other presentations, they will be available on our STARS pension project website. So you would be able to access this moving forward. There is a question, Joann, related to the web browsers and the utilization of these portals. Is there a preferred web browser to use?
no, there's not. I think we talked about that the last time. It seems to work in at most browsers. I was using Edge, and I know I've used Google, and I think, but yeah, there's no. Um, you can use any of the search browsers to get to stars.
A couple questions related to the process that you were just demonstrating. In the future, will there be written instructions on all the processes that will be able to be utilized for download when we go live?
Yes, we are working on both video and training step by step so that it will be available at launch so that you will have access to that data in both fashions. So you can either which way works best for you, you can go ahead and utilize that source, but it will be available at launch. Any other?
Awesome. There is a question related to testing contribution files right now. Can we use the site that you just used and demonstrated this walkthrough, Joann, to test our uploads directly?
That's the secure folder that we have been using since we started the file testing. So if you don't have that information, just let me know and I can either myself or Harold, and we can send you the instructions for uploading the file to that secure folder. And we can get that tested, the file tested for you.
And just as a follow-up to that, I think the question is probably more directed to utilizing the portal that you are using right now to test independently as an employer. And the quick answer to that is no, unfortunately, our test environments have to be within our secure network, which is, like Joann mentioned, one of the reasons why with our pilot program, we did invite a cross-section of employers to come through and be on site here in our office to test this experience, just as Joann had walked through. And the main reason for that is this website is a secure website right now and can only be utilized utilizing our network infrastructure. So you as an employer, unfortunately, are not able to directly test the portal yourself at your own leisure. it has to be done through our networks. And so that's why we are going through that pilot experience program. Um, as Joann mentioned, if you're strictly looking to test to ensure that your test file is properly formatted and will import appropriately, that is where Joann was talking about coordinating with your liaison, whether it's Joann or Harold, to submit test files for validation. Um, so that's unfortunate that you won't be able to test in the portal directly yourself at your leisure. A couple other questions related to the process, Joann, as you were showing the import process, which then creates work reports, which I know is a new term for all of us, utilizing work reports. And then once the work report has been finalized and submitted and what we call released, will that generate an invoice?
Yes, that's once that work report has been submitted, then it does create that invoice and it will show up in transactions. And so that's where the import is to get it to a point to the work report, and the work report is then to invoice it and to get it to the member's record in STARS.
And I think a follow-up question to that related to the payment process. Is the utilization of the STARS portal just for uploading the file, and are we not changing how we pay PSPRS?
There is changes to how that how the payment is remitted to public safety, because we are no longer going to be using the e-bill process. Um, so what is happening is that within that menu, there's the option, there's a menu for listed there for payments. So the employer will go in and will be updating um, for ACH payments in the you'll update it in the ESS portal because STARS will no longer support the e-bill. So we are going to straight to ACH as far as that goes, and that's where within STARS you'll go ahead and indicate the bank information in order for that payment to be made.
Awesome. Just going through the rest of the chats in here, Joann. Um, I think I will take this question. The question is, how quickly does a system time out during file uploads? Well, one thing I would say at this point is, as part of our testing right now, we have not experienced the system timing out with import processes. So it does continue to stay live and functional while the import is going on. What we are currently still coordinating and working through with our vendor is performance related to the validations and the import process for some of our larger employer files. Our goal is to ensure that, the import process for an employer, especially for our large employers, takes minutes and not hours. And so that is where we're still working through that exercise with our vendor to ensure that the performance of an import and validation process will be completed within minutes and that we don't encounter any issues related to timing out of the system and things of that sort. But what we've been doing now with our testing has not created any timeout issues. So we're not concerned about timeout. What we're really focused in on is the performance of the validations to ensure that it's done within minutes as an expectation. Question, Joann, related to cancer insurance and invoicing. Will annual cancer insurance payments be invoiced and paid through this new system?
Yes, the cancer insurance will be a process that will be done through STARS. There is in the menu in STARS, if you recall, there is a menu option policies, which is the cancer insurance information, and it does allow also for payment of the cancer insurance to be made through STARS. So it will all be in one place.
I think I'll take the next couple questions that I see here. The first one is, will we still be able to access e-bill for prior invoices? The short answer to that is e-bill as an experience through those portals. Once we go live with STARS will not be available directly to our employers. So any historical invoicing prior to that, either the employer needs to coordinate that prior to our go live to ensure that they have that historical data that they're looking for, or historical invoicing. Once we are in a go live state, there would be an outreach to our office directly, and we can coordinate with our finance team on any prior invoicing and access to that data of prior invoices in eBill should that need arise. But in terms of the portal being still open and available once we go live, that will be shut down once we transition over to STARS. The additional question is related to W-9 information for the ACH payments. What I would recommend is just send that request related to W-9 information to our finance team, and their general email is finance@psprs.com. So if you need any of that W-9 information, you can certainly send that request directly to our finance team. I see one final question here, Joann. When will we start using the new system?
STARS will be in the spring of 2026. So right now, that's where we don't have a specific date yet, but it's going to be in the spring. And if you go to the STARS Pension Administration System, there is a countdown calendar. So you can take a look at that and see how many days and such it will be that we have to wait for yet for STARS to launch.
And just as a follow-up to that, our goal is our cutover process, we're trying to coordinate in addition to our monthly pension payroll process. And so our goal is at the end of March pension payroll is our hope to be able to then transition and begin our cutover and go live into STARS with, like Joann said, in spring of 2026. So while we don't have a specific date, that is kind of our target to meet in order to cut over.
Okay, are there any other questions that you can see, Robert? That was
I
it?
I think we have addressed, I'm going through them right now. I think we've addressed all the questions that have come through the chat.
All right, great. Don't forget, if you have any other questions, you can email myself or Harold, and we will be glad to help you with those questions as best that we can. And please remember that the next employer check-in is November 19th at 1 p.m. And we will be reviewing errors and warnings that may be encountered in STARS. And check the website, the STARS Pension Administration System webpage for information and for today's meetings recording. It'll be posted there at some point in the near future. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you, joining us and participating in this employer check-in. And we'll see you next time. Thank you all. Have a great day.